Hello, how'd you do? I'm not broken, I'm just split in two. Hope you're fine, ain't got time to do everything you said you would. Frames of the past and the memory of you just come running by. Pictures of sunny days with your smile in the bar. They say I was broken. How could they say you made me come undone? Now I know that it's okay.
So hey everybody, it's Mickey, and in today's video we are in the pantry. I have some awesome recipes for you. I'm going to be sharing with you everything that I have restocked for the month, and I'll also have my meal plan and meals for the week. So if you are new here, I hope you'll take a minute to subscribe. I put out new videos every week about all things home. One of my goals for the year is to get a solid working extended pantry. So each month I'm concentrating on a certain category of food to stock my shelves. Last month we stocked up on canned foods like tomato sauce and canned veggies. This month I'm concentrating on side dishes. So to make it a little easier on my budget, I'm splitting it up, starting with pasta and rice, and then later on in the month I'll concentrate on adding soups and sauces. I'd love to know how it is in your area. Here I have certainly seen that our prices are going up and the selection in the stores is more limited. Being Italian, pasta is a big part of my weekly meal plan, and I have certainly noticed that stores are only carrying the very basic pasta selection. So what I've had to do this month is order pasta online to get the types that I need. This week I ordered 6 pounds of Stellina pasta. This is the pasta that I use for all of my soups. It's always been a staple in my kitchen, and for like the last 2 or 3 months I haven't been able to find it in the stores anywhere. So I was able to go online through Target and order it. So while I was online, I also ordered 6 pounds of the pot size thin spaghetti. This is the same spaghetti that you always get. It's just cut in half, and I love these little boxes because they are so much easier to store, and it makes putting together, a quick spaghetti night that much easier. We don't use many pre-packaged side dishes, but the one that I do use is pastaroni. We like the shells and white cheddar flavor. This is also great for a quick weeknight meal, and it is so good with barbecue chicken. Now, because we don't really use this that often, these 6 boxes will probably last me 6 months. Next up is pastina. Now this is something that is always in my kitchen, and luckily I have been able to find it out in the stores regularly, so I have a pretty good supply of it on hand. I use this at least once a week for a pasta recipe that I'm going to share with you a little bit later in the video. I have always thought that the best cornbread is made from scratch, so I have never been one to buy, that pre-packaged cornbread mix. I have always used Quaker cornmeal. This is my favorite, and the recipe is super simple and is right on the back of the container. The only thing that I do differently in the recipe is that I add buttermilk instead of regular milk. I always try to have 2 of these containers on hand in my pantry. Now, since I just opened one this week, I wanted to be sure to get a replacement. I also picked up a couple of bags of Nature's Path coconut and cashew granola. This is our favorite. We use it in our oatmeal and sprinkle on top of like fruit and yogurt. I have only ever been able to find this at Target, but I have also ordered it directly from the company so that we always have it in the pantry. I also picked up an additional 5-pound bag of rice. We have always mixed our brown and white rice together. The family just seems to like that more mild flavored rice a little bit better than just straight brown rice. And of course, rice is a staple in everyone's home, and it can be such a great meal extender. We often serve chili and stews on top of a bed of rice if we have an unexpected crowd. So that is everything that I got this week to add to our extended pantry. So why don't we take everything down to my little food storage room, and I'll give you a quick tour of what's new. For those of you who are new here, we're going into my food storage room, which is in the lower level of my home. This is what I refer to as my extended pantry. This is where I keep all of my backups. you know, all of those things that I like to stock up on because it's just what I use most, you know, during the week to put meals together and to do a little baking and freezer meals and all those good things. I've been talking a lot about building up my pantry because when the pandemic hit, I was really ill prepared for it. I think I had maybe like a couple rolls of toilet paper and my pantry was pretty empty. You know, when we had all the kids home, I have 4 kids and I always had a full pantry, but you know, as everybody was leaving for school, I was very lax about it and not keeping up to date on things. And then when the pandemic hit, I was really sorry that that had happened. So I promised myself that I would be better prepared, you know, for anything that came our way. So that is why my goal for the year is to really get a good, solid, extended pantry set up. So one of the things that I have done since the last time we were down here in the pantry is I've made just a few changes. I really went through my pantry and got rid of those small appliances that I just have not used over the last couple years and that I was just holding on because I've just always had them. So I donated a lot of them, which freed up some space that I was able to move around the shelves a bit here in this second pantry. I have a big bucket here for overflow and I really do like to label everything, but sometimes I think labels can limit you. You really do need a bucket that you can just put all of those things that don't come under a category that you have on hand. Like that's where I'm keeping some cereal. That's where I stuck the cornmeal and the granola. And back there I have some Crisco for baking. And I have this smaller cabinet over here that I used to use for all of my preschool supplies. I've now turned that into where I keep my crock pots, and I also have some small food storage containers. In the back here I have some hand soap and some dish soap. Down on these shelves here I have some of my roasting pans, my really large stock pot. In the back there you might catch a glimpse of one of the old Lego creations my kids made. I tend to keep these things because I just think they are so sweet to, you know, look at over the years. My kids were so into Legos. So also here I have on these bottom shelves here is some Clorox wipes, some cleaning sponges, and Dawn Power Wash, and my powdered Tide that I use for cleaning. So that's the updates that I made for February. As I said earlier, I still have a few things to purchase with the addition of soups and sauces for the month. I'm going to leave a link down below to these cabinets. I get a lot of questions about them. We have a couple sets of these down here on our lower level. They are really perfect for storage. I know that I would have additional space if I had open shelving, but I'm just not comfortable with open shelves. I like to know that I have storage, but I don't necessarily want to look at it all the time. So I'll leave the links to these down below. I highly recommend them. They are really sturdy, they hold a lot, and they allow me to store things in large plastic bins that, you know, keep things fresh and safe and critter-free with the change of the seasons. So let's head back upstairs because I have one of my most favorite recipes to share with you. So the recipe I'm going to share with you now is truly one of my most treasured recipes that I got from my mom. I think of her whenever I make it, and I probably make it at least once a week. We simply have always called it Italian pastina, and this is what my mom made for us when we were kids. From the time we were like little babies, she would make it for us when we weren't feeling well, or if we just wanted a light dinner, she would serve it with a lanzolette on the side, and it just is simply comfort food. So what you're going to need for this recipe is about 4 to 5 cups of chicken broth. You'll need 8 ounces or 1 cup of pastina, 1 egg, 1 to 2 tablespoons of butter. You will also need some pecorino romano cheese and some ricotta cheese that you're going to top it all off with in the end. You'll also need some salt, pepper, a little bit of garlic powder, and parsley. Now this whole recipe takes about 15 minutes to cook from start to finish. So all you need to do is put your chicken broth in a large pan, season it with salt, pepper, garlic powder, and just a little bit of dried parsley. Bring it to a boil, add your cup of pastina, and let that cook for about 9 minutes. After 9 minutes, you're going to add some hot broth to your lightly beaten egg to temper it and add it to your pot. Start mixing until well combined and cooked with a whisk until probably most of the broth is absorbed. At that point, you're going to add in a handful of Romano cheese and your 2 tablespoons of butter. Mix it all really well and it's ready. We serve it in a big bowl with a couple of tablespoons of ricotta cheese on top and a sprinkling of fresh or dried parsley. This is such a simple dish, but it is just so good. Sometimes I make this for a late lunch and it's enough to keep me full for the rest of the day. You can also add more broth in the beginning so that it comes out more like a soup if you wish, but to me this is the best way to serve it. So also this week I made meatballs for meatball subs and my regular tomato sauce. Now I've shared this recipe on my channel before, but I thought I would share it again with you because this is one that I get asked about all the time. So today we are making a big pot of my veggie tomato sauce with meatballs. This is such a great sauce to split up and freeze because you can use it in so many different recipes. This is also a really healthy sauce because you can put so many different kinds of vegetables in it, whatever your family likes, and it just adds to the great flavor. You know, it's something that I like to have in my freezer all the time for those quick weeknight meals or just to hand off to one of the kids to bring home. So some of the things that you will need for this recipe is a couple packages of ground meat. I really like to use this meatloaf mix because it's a combination of veal, beef, and pork, and it really adds a great flavor to meatballs. You will also need a couple 28-ounce cans of tomatoes. I like to use the regular sauce, crushed and diced tomatoes. Any brand will do. As for the veggies, I will be using some fresh parsley, white mushrooms, zucchini, green peppers, onions, and garlic, but you can use whatever veggie your family likes. So we are going to get started on our meatballs first, and I always like to make my own breadcrumbs for my meatballs, which you can really use any bread that you have around the house. I just put it all through my small food processor. I also add my parsley, garlic, onions, and green peppers, which run through the food processor as well. So I add everything to my small food processor, one ingredient at a time, and then I add it all to the big mixing bowl. You know, I will be sure to put the full recipe in the information section down below, and just like all of my recipes that I share, this one is very forgiving and you can add to it or leave out whatever suits your family best. So to my meatball mix, I add some Romano cheese, salt and pepper, red pepper flakes, Mrs. Dash, Worcestershire sauce, an egg, and I always make a little extra breadcrumbs in case I need it while I'm mixing. So with clean hands, you're going to mix all of your ingredients together until everything seems to be evenly distributed throughout the meat. And then you're just going to break off a bit of meat and roll between your hands to make your meatballs. Now everyone has their own idea of the perfect meatball shape and size. I had an aunt when I was growing up who thought the perfect meatball was about the size of a softball, so you can pretty much make them any size you want. You would just have to adjust the cooking time. I like to bake my meatballs in the oven for about 35 minutes at 350. So moving on now to our sauce, I am just prepping all of my veggies to go into the food processor. I like to puree these up pretty well so that they melt into the sauce where you get all the flavor but the sauce remains smooth. In a large stock pot, add about a tablespoon of butter and 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and then you are going to saute the pureed vegetables for about 3 to 5 minutes. After that, you're going to want to add about a 1/4 cup of white wine. Now this is a step that you can leave out completely without it affecting the flavor of the sauce. Next, you're going to add all of your canned tomatoes. That's the sauce, crushed tomatoes, and the chopped tomatoes. And then you're going to want to add all of your seasonings, which will be listed in the information bar down below. After those are all stirred in, you're going to be adding your baked meatballs. Bring everything to a low boil and then simmer for about a half hour to 40 minutes, and then your sauce is done. One night this week, we had meatball subs on toasted rolls with melted provolone and Parmesan cheese. I had made enough sauce so that later on in the week, I could make a big pan of baked ziti, which is really so good right out of the oven, but we all think that it is even better the day after. Towards the end of the week, I made burrito bowls, which are basically like an open-faced taco over rice. We had topped them with cheese, sour cream, and guacamole. And lastly, no week would be complete without a good crock-pot meal, and Mississippi pot roast is one of our favorites. I served it with a side of mashed potatoes and mixed vegetables. So thank you all so much for watching today. I really enjoy doing these pantry videos, and I hope that you enjoy them as well. Be sure to check your subscriptions. I've heard from some of you that YouTube has unsubscribed you from my channel again. And if you are new here, I hope that you will take a minute to subscribe. I'd love to have you all back as part of our YouTube family. Don't forget to join our communities over on Facebook and Instagram at My Bashful Life. So until I see you in that next video, I hope that you love the life that you have. Be kind to each other, stay safe, and I will see you again soon. Bye!